Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I just want to say I'm grateful to your convening this important hearing and for your tireless work to defend the integrity of our census in keeping with the leadership of our former chair. And I thank you, Mr. Dillingham, for bringing him into this space, Elijah Cummings. I cannot overstate the importance of a successful and accurate census enough. And we've been talking throughout today about hard-to-count districts. More than 60% of my constituents living in Suffolk County live in hard-to-count neighborhoods, more than 60%. So critical to ensuring undercounts don't take place in the first place is making sure that we have the staff power recruited, hired up, trained, and ready to do the work. Now, I have heard directly from constituents of mine who are eager and enthusiastic to take on this task, but instead, being frank, have been given the runaround or have been left waiting to hear for weeks on end from the Census Bureau on the status of their applications. So today, I would like to discuss the Census Bureau's recruiting and hiring efforts. I understand the Census Bureau is expected to hire up to 500,000 temporary workers to conduct the 2020 census, including enumerators who knock on doors to ensure everyone is counted. To do that, the Bureau set a goal of recruiting 2.6 million applicants. But again, according to the GAO report, the Census Bureau is far behind. The GAO says, quote, the Bureau is behind in its recruiting of applicants for upcoming operations. If the Bureau does not recruit sufficient individuals, it may have difficulty hiring enough staff to complete its upcoming operations within scheduled timeframes, unquote. I know there's a reoccurring theme here. There's a reoccurring repeat themes here because we have shared concerns and we do want to be good faith partners to each other in this endeavor. And as elected officials, we don't get to just speak to the what. We have to explain the how. And I don't believe we've gotten to that. And so, Dr. Dillingham, you have known about this problem for weeks, outlined in the GAO report. Why is the Bureau so behind on this, with just weeks before the counts begin nationwide?
Congresswoman, we appreciate your concern with this. We appreciate GAO pointing out that we did have a very ambitious goal under the worst-case scenario that we were trying to meet. We will meet the worst-case scenario in just a couple of weeks, by the first week in March, and most of those people will not be hired for many weeks later. So we are on course. We have absolute confidence. There's no one at the Census Bureau worried about us not having recruits overall in the country. Now, what we do worry about, some areas, and I could certainly check Boston and areas of Massachusetts, there are areas that we want to focus on. We have at least 3 applicants for every job that we're going to be hiring for in every part of the country, but some we have 4 and 5 applicants. We want 4, 5, and I want 6 applicants for every job that we have available, because we have greater selectivity. We can choose the people from the communities, directly from those communities, and often with the set of language skills needed. Well, so let me put our chart up here and show you where we are.
Oh, no, I've seen that from earlier in your presentation.
And we have it in your materials.
And again, just underscoring not only the GAO report, which contradicts what you're offering.
And their data is somewhat dated. I think they will admit that.
Again, it contradicts what you're offering, and it contradicts on-the-ground experience by the people that I represent. In order to maintain the integrity of the census process, then we have to have the recruiting process be one that is of integrity. And I have participated in job fairs in previous census and have been a good faith partner. I've already done census awareness events in my district. And, you know, those that are unemployed or underemployed and who want to be a part of this process, they have just been, left out to dry without any response for a very long time. So I'm glad that the Bureau has had a recent uptick in recruiting.
Can I respond?
But I want to show you a chart, again, from today's GAO report. Okay, so the red line shows the Census Bureau's goals for recruiting. The blue dotted line is your actual recruiting, which has been lagging behind since last September. As you can see, you still have not reached even your own internal goals. So, Mr. Mim, what is causing the hiring delays at the Census Bureau? What can I tell my
Congresswoman,
constituents?
we have reached our internal goals with respect to the anticipated response rate. The worst-case scenario response rate, we're on the verge of hitting within 2 weeks. Most of these people will not be hired, some for months, some for weeks. And you started out with people are concerned about not getting word about being hired yet. We're making the selections. In March, we're going to be making final
acknowledgement of
selections.
even receipt of application. But at the committee's last census hearing, Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League, said it's time to ring the alarm bell on the enumerator program. They are behind, and there is no strategy to catch up. Mr. Mem, is Mr. Morial's concern a fair one, yes or no?
I will say this, he's our partner. We work with him, we respect him.
Yes or no?
And let me say, some people look at a glass and say it's half empty. We say it's filling fast and will overflow. And so with Mr. Morial, I would characterize it differently. Yes, I would.
Well, it's not just about meeting a single national recruiting target. Census workers are needed more in hard-to-count communities where many people will not fill out census forms until someone arrives at their door. Yet again, according to the GAO, 202 of the 248 area census offices fell short of their individual recruiting targets. I mean, all this is about numbers. Okay, and the numbers are telling the story. And it is
we think so. We also base our assessments on the numbers.
And it is a sobering one that stands to really devastatingly impact communities that are already under-resourced and underserved. Mr. Mim, do you agree that staff shortages could have a bigger impact in hard-to-count communities? Or Mr. Fontaine, anyone who would like to add, weigh in here?
We agree that staff shortages could have a big impact on hard-to-count communities. But I will emphasize that by the time we start making selections for our hiring, we will have exceeded 2.67 million applicants in our applicant pool. The challenge that your constituents is having is they've signed up for the census a month ago, 2 months ago, and we haven't hired anyone yet. Our plan always was to begin selection for the non-response follow-up operation, which is our big operation, in March. It was on our website. It was on the application of this is the order when things happen.
Yes,
people miss that along the way. And I've had them come up to me who know me and say,
well, Mr. Fontaine, I'm so sorry.
This is the last question. The time has expired, but ask the question and he can answer. Ask it.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to say for 3 counties in the Massachusetts 7th, which I represent, the Census Bureau still needs to recruit 11,000 applicants. So just for the purposes of the record, and Rep. Ocasio-Cortez was doing the same thing. Can you just clarify that none of this delay has anything to do with security concerns? There are people affiliated with the census who have told people that have applied that this is an exhaustive process because there needs to be extra screening and be mindful of people who would be coming to your door. And this has especially been told to those who have queries. So could you just for the record just say that there are no discriminatory barriers to people applying, and then speak to what is a reasonable time to expect someone to get back when someone has applied?
right now, we're sending a letter to any applicant who has applied within 2 weeks of their application. They're getting some notification.
Right now.
We have received your application, okay? But they will not be selected until our March timeframe for our primary operation period, because the operation actually does not start until May. So we're hiring people in advance of an operation and a training process. And so that's the one thing that I want to maintain clarity on, that there will be a gap of approximately 60 days between the time we start selection and time people start actually working and being paid.
The gentlelady's time has expired.